Hey guys, welcome back to Grounded Life Travel. We want to share with you today some mistakes we made and you could make in London.
So London is a huge city and it can be a little overwhelming. One of the first mistakes people make is overlooking all the free things there are to do in London. There's tons of free stuff to do.
Yeah, there's actually like 20 something free museums that you can go to. There's a ton of public parks. Of course, you can walk for free along the Thames River. There's city markets, really a lot of fun, free things to do that you could miss out on if you're just paying for all of your attractions there.
Yeah, sightseeing is one of the top attractions, and you can see most of the sights from outside of it. So that is a free way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Another mistake that people make is just using the tube or their metro to get around. Everything is actually pretty close, right? A lot of the tube stations are literally right close to each other, so it'd be silly to go under, hop on, go to the next station. When you pop up, you're not that far from where you were in the first place, so you're actually just wasting time, right?
Yeah, don't be afraid just to walk around downtown London. Once you get in the tourist area, it's going to be easier just to walk most of the places, because even if you try to get a taxi, it's going to take you longer than it would just to walk.
Yeah, for sure. And they do, if you are going to do a taxi, there is an app, actually several apps that you can use to get a taxi there. And there's also the hop-on, hop-off buses, right?
Yeah. We enjoyed the hop-on, hop-off bus because it did show you the entire city and just an easy way to do that.
Yes. Now, the only downside to it is if you go during a time where there's a lot of traffic, it is going to take a long time. So just kind of know that, I mean, you can hop off at any time, but you will be on the bus for a long time if you're trying to ride it all around the city to kind of see the whole city in a day. You could very easily do that on a hop-on, hop-off bus for a very reasonable price. So that's really good. Another thing too is we have to remember that they drive on the opposite side from the United States, so that carries over into social situations as well, like going up and down escalators. You could get on the wrong side. And then another thing to keep in mind is that you stand on the right side, but you walk up the left. So don't block the left side, because that's left open for people who are trying to move a little bit quicker, right?
Yeah, in the United States, we just stand on both sides, but in London, they walk up the left side if they're
which is
trying
efficient.
to get somewhere quickly. Another one is tipping too much. The tipping standards are different than the U.S., and so familiarize yourself with that so you're not over-tipping in a situation when you didn't need to or intend to.
Yeah, exactly. You'll see it usually on your bill. It's a 12.5% service charge. That is the tip. So if you were like, wow, this is the most magnificent service ever, and you want to tip on top of that, feel free to do so, but don't feel like you have to tip on top of it, because that is the tip that goes towards the service. So just know that.
As far as tickets go for things that you want to go to, try to figure out what you want to do before you get there and order your tickets well ahead of time, because you can get some skip the line passes for some of the things. But some attractions, if you try to go the day of, you're going to have to stand in a long line, or as they would say, a queue, to get there, and it can be 2 to 3 hours just to get in to see one thing, and that can take up your whole day.
Yeah, and sometimes, it would take up your whole day, or you can't even get in.
Yeah.
So definitely really important to get those. The other thing to get is if you are going to be riding the tube, is to go ahead and get an Oyster card, and it's kind of like a prepaid debit card type thing. You can use it at a few convenience stores, but mainly you're going to use it for your metro, your tube rides, and that way you don't have to buy a ticket every time you go down there, which is time consuming and a big pain. You might as well just and you can actually pick the card up at a tube station, or you can get it at a convenience store and top it up at those as well.
One way you're going to save a lot of money is by eating food that you bought in a convenience store or a grocery store. They have them everywhere in the city, and they are shockingly cheap from what we thought they would be. I found the food to be even cheaper than at the grocery store in the United States.
Absolutely.
Which I was really surprised by. The restaurants may be a little bit more expensive, but if you just want to get some snacks or some drinks, don't be afraid to go to a convenience store and get those to eat a lunch that way even. You're going to save a lot of money doing that.
You'll actually see a lot of Londoners there eating their lunches in the convenience store. We stayed in an area where there were a lot of business people. They would just go right in there and grab some lunch, pop right out. So there's a lot of pre-made foods as well. So it's real easy, real convenient, and very inexpensive, and will help. That way you can put the money towards eating someplace really good later on, because there's lots of places to eat. But one other thing too, we talked earlier about driving on the opposite side. Also, for your safety, it's important as quickly as possible to realize that you have to look to the right before crossing the street as opposed to looking to the left. That's our natural instinct, obviously, because, well, we've done it our whole lives if you grew up in the United States. So make sure, there are lots of intersections where it is written on the ground when you look down, but make sure you're always looking to the right, because a lot of times they don't even see you coming because of the direction that they're turning in. So don't assume that they can see you. You may walk out on somebody who's turning and, have an accident. So be careful.
Yeah, one thing I would add to that is to look out for bikes.
Yes.
We from the States are not used to people riding bikes in cities, and you can just step out and get hit by a bike pretty easily in London, because you just don't think that a bike would be coming, and they can be coming through an intersection pretty quickly.
Yes, for sure. Another thing, although it may seem fun, don't try to mimic their accent. A, you'll look foolish, and B, half the time they don't know what you're talking about. So just really familiarize yourself though with the differences. It is English, but they use different words for different things than we do. So just familiarize yourself with those when you're trying to figure, someone tells you to go stand in the queue and you're thinking, what does that mean? They want you to go stand in the line. So familiarize yourself with things like that, and things like saying toilet if you want to go to the bathroom. It may seem kind of odd to us to say toilet, because that's not really something, it seems a little bit more abrupt to us personally, but that's the word that would make the most sense to address going to the bathroom. So make sure that you familiarize yourself with those terms, because that's going to be important.
Another mistake you can make is trying to do too much. There's a lot to see and do in London, and you will be covering a lot of ground, waiting in a lot of lines, and if you try to pack in too much to one day, you could ruin the next day and so forth. So just be aware that you're not going to breeze through everything that you do probably, and make sure you don't plan too much for one particular day.
There really is so much to do there. You're not going to do everything that you think you're going to do when you go to London. So make sure that you just pick a handful of things that are like, I can't walk away from London without seeing these 5 things, or just be open to whatever you can get into, because as we mentioned earlier, you could have long lines, you may not be able to get tickets and things like that to some of the attractions. So make sure that you leave yourself open to that.
And the last thing is eating only in restaurants. You miss out on the food markets, street vendors, and all kinds of other food opportunities. So there are a lot of great restaurants in London, but don't limit yourself to just that.
Yeah, there are lots of good food to eat. And on that note, don't only eat fish and chips. There is a lot more to eat in London than fish and chips. So make sure you look at them. It is very good. The fish and chips is very delicious, but there's a lot more to eat there than just fish and chips. So open yourself up to some other possibilities. Ask the wait staff for suggestions, or just stop at a street vendor and just buy something different or new to try, because you're in a different country. You might as well try something new.
Hope you liked this video. If you did, give us a like, a comment, and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.